Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News for You. I'm Brian Blessed. Yes, it's me. I'm back again. Now, in the news this week, as Silvio Berlusconi celebrates his latest election result, his campaign team call off the hunt for his missing mistress. And Richard Hammond arrives at A&E having driven an open-top car under a low bridge. And there's delight for Eric Pickles as his new toasting fork is finally delivered. On Ian's team tonight, a left-wing politician who believes the state should pay for everything except a ceremonial funeral. Please welcome the fantastic Ken Livingstone. Yeah! And with Paul tonight is a comedian who, in a previous job, worked as a greetings card packer in a factory. On her last day, she was given hundreds of leaving cards and told to pop them in the delivery van on her way out. And now please welcome the wonderful, gorgeous Bridget Christie! And we start with the biggest stories of the week. Ian and Ken, take a look at this.
There she is, swinging away. It's an old lady who's died this week. Any thoughts, Ken? Oh, look, she's burying you. Oh, there we are. Switching Britain on.
Well, it's amazing. I haven't had my invite to the funeral yet, so I haven't been able to decline it.
Would you go?
No, it would be a tad hypocritical. Given she abolished me, I don't think she expects me to turn up at her funeral.
She's died, and the BBC has been accused of bias. So, luckily, tonight it's rectified it by inviting Ken Livingstone on.
Wednesday saw tributes in Parliament. Anyone catch what Norman Lamont had to say?
No. What did he have to say?
Well, don't you know, Paul?
No, I don't. Me and Norman fell out some time ago.
He said, she looked at me and said, you are utterly hopeless. Oh. What great judgment she had.
Yeah. There was a succession of rather wet elderly men appearing on the telly saying, she was awfully rude to us, you know, and really horrid to Geoffrey.
When you say wet elderly men, have they just been fished from the Thames with their...
And there's some very elderly posh ones going, God, I mean, she was a woman. Rather vulgar, probably middle class. Ghastly. And a woman.
There's been a lot of talk this week about the fact that she was a woman.
Yes.
But, I mean, I knew all along. It was sort of beyond gender, in a way. She had such conviction and such amazing confidence in herself that I think that whatever she'd been born, she wouldn't have thought that that was a hindrance, even if she'd been born a man or a goat. It wouldn't have stopped her.
You think she'd have been Britain's first goat prime minister?
Well, she would have been. And now we'd all be saying, against all odds, at a time when it was inconceivable that a goat would have been elected as a member of Parliament.
I hardly think she'd have been against the nanny state, though.
What did John Gunner have to say?
Nothing interesting.
He said she had beautiful hands and lovely ankles, and she knew precisely how to use both.
What, walking and picking up things?
Did you also see the misunderstanding over a Twitter conversation called Now Thatcher's Dead?
Oh, yes.
Which upset fans of the popular singer Cher, who thought she died.
Now that Cher's dead.
Yeah.
There were some errors on mainstream television also. Did you see how the BBC announced the news?
Yes, can we see it again?
Sorry, I was interrupting there, John, just because there's one more line, just as you were reading that, which has just come in from Lord Bell, and he's been quoted saying, "It is with great sadness that Mark and Carol Thatcher announced that their mother, Baroness Thatcher, died peacefully following a strike this morning."
And Thailand's Channel 5 showed a photo of Meryl Streep instead. And now, here's another question. Why weren't Thatcher's children there at the end?
Perhaps Mark was still on the run.
Yes, that's...
Actually, I was on paper review with Carol Thatcher the day it was revealed in the papers that Mark Thatcher was a multimillionaire. And she said, I don't see how that can be. He's never done a day's work in his life. That's true. Keep it in.
That's all the lawyer needs to hear. That's true. Keep it in. That's
It's in my autobiography and he hasn't sued.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but no one's read that.
You're in it.
Am I?
Yeah.
Blimey.
That's private eyes. That's when you said I had a secret Swiss bank account into which Gaddafi had put $250,000.
Did we get the figure wrong?
No, I think
Well, I have to say, they were abroad. What did Maggie once say about her son?
Did she only say something once about him?
Well, she said Mark could sell snow to the Eskimos and sand to the Arabs.
But mainly just arms, the nasty little...
Now, how did the BBC expose their own lefty tendencies and their utter contempt for Thatcher's memory?
They interviewed her enemies who said unpleasant things about her, and then they interviewed her friends, most of whom also said unpleasant things about her.
Now, the BBC interviewed Gerry Adams. What did he say?
Didn't he go on about how she supported a whole list of things he didn't approve of, basically?
Well, he said Margaret Thatcher did great hurt to the British people, although not as much as all those bombs, eh, Gerry? All right, Gerry, any time! Straight between you, gizzard!
I thought we politically moved on from issuing threats to former members of the IRA.
Well, the BBC also interviewed Maggie's biggest fan and disciple, Tony Blair. Did you see his tribute? He said, very few leaders get to change the landscape of not just their own country, but of the world. I mean, well, he certainly changed the landscape of Baghdad. I'm sorry, Tony, I'm sorry about that, because he had a heart operation, once he had ablation.
Well, he had one put in.
Did he have one put in? And now, Lord Howe of Aberavon was asked by Sky for his thoughts on his time in Thatcher's cabinet. And he said it was a long time ago. Well, yes, that's the idea when someone dies, Geoffrey. A bit of reminiscing about old stuff. Come on, shape up!
I think you're in safer ground attacking Geoffrey Howe than you were with Gerry Adams.
Did you hear about Julian Stiles? According to the Mirror, Julian, 58, was made redundant from his factory job in 1984. I've been waiting for that witch to die for 30 years, he said. Tonight is party time. I'm drinking one drink for every year I've been out of work. 30 years? Without a job? Pull your finger out, Julian, you lazy bastard! I'll kill you, you bastard!
Let's abandon this show. Brian says, who wants a fight? Line up in alphabetical order. Adams, you're first.
But there has been...
celebrations... Go on, me dog, speak.
No, I just said there have been lunacy on both sides. The more conservative press has got very overexcited and there are plans to rename London Thatcher. Did you know that?
Port Stanley, I think. No.
And the statue?
Well,
do you want her on the 4th plinth?
When I became mayor, I was told, because I was questioning, what are you going to do with it? I said, well, it's actually reserved for Her Majesty when she dies. I'm not supposed to say that. They said, you can't tell anyone.
I think rather than putting the Queen up there, we should have a statue rather than actually putting her up there. I mean, that'd be a bit grisly,
That's why I had
wouldn't
all those temporary things. They put her up there. There'll be endless demos, people trying to pull it down. It'll be just like the Saddam Hussein thing, people pulling it down with ropes, you know?
Well, that and a ring of steel of Daily Mail readers guarding the flame.
The celebrations of Thatcher's death have been criticised by all sides, including Tony Blair. Blair said this, when you decide, you divide. I think she would be pretty philosophical about it, and I hope I will be too. Although, philosophically speaking, he'd be dead.
He believes in an afterlife. He'll be looking down on the celebrations.
Or looking up.
Now, my Margaret Thatcher is to have a ceremonial funeral. What's it going to cost?
10 million.
You're absolutely right, in between 10 million and 40 million. I mean, I didn't understand this, you see. Look, when I was a kid... I used to make coffins. I left school at 14, love. I made hundreds of coffins. Yeah. I mean, I could do it cheaply. Wait, it only cost 25 quid.
In those days, even if they weren't dead, you punched them into the coffin.
Well, Brian has just offered to do the whole thing for 25 quid.
For 25 quid.
Got to be the lowest bid. I think it's out to tender. Give it to Brian.
The BBC News produce an artist's impression of what the funeral might look like. Yes. Well, it's a bit like Reservoir Dogs. Or the retrospectives of Thatcher's reign have brought back some memories. Do you recall what the eminent Dr. Jonathan Miller said about Thatcher? She is loathsome and repulsive in every way with her odious suburban gentility. I mean, it's good that Jonathan Miller reminds us occasionally of what a twat he is.
Line them up.
I'm going on that. Am I on that?
Yes, you're on this now.
Yes. So
I don't know what you're on.
I can't read this. Yes, this is the solemn news that one of our greatest peacetime prime ministers has died. But don't worry, Gordon's alive! Geoffrey Archer paid tribute to Lady Thatcher, saying she was a giant and she will remain a giant, and in history she will remain a giant. Geoffrey Archer, not just a terrible writer, but also a terrible writer. Lord Saatchi joined in the tribute, saying, "Everyone wants to be immortal. Few are. Mrs. Thatcher is." Has he not read the papers? Lady Thatcher's funeral will be held in central London next Wednesday. It will be a full ceremonial occasion with military honours. But at her own request, there'll be no fly-past, though the Argentinian Air Force did offer. Paul and Bridget,
yes.
My sugar lumps.
Yes.
Take a look at this.
Another one of the feel-good stories of the week. This is a man who's extremely dangerous.
Getting hopscotch very wrong.
Absolutely. There he has been applauded, and everybody laughing and clapping, because he's fantastic. He's conducting his own symphony, which he's written inside a tank.
It's nice to have someone on who makes Mrs. Thatcher look rational and human, isn't it?
That's why you're here.
Now, let's see how Jeremy Paxman introduced this major international story on Newsnight.
There have mercifully been no hostilities yet, and the natural response to the spectacle of a fat little man in an absurd boiler suit issuing such threats is perhaps to laugh.
Who wants to see the North Korean embassy in London?
Yes, please.
Now, it's not quite as grand as you might expect. It's a semi-detached house in Ealing where, according to neighbours, one of the diplomats is a fan of the X Factor. It's a 7-bedroom property, so if nothing else, North Korea now owes us 98 quid a week in bedroom tax. What have US soldiers been doing which involves Camp Stanley? They're practising anti-chemical warfare techniques. Oh, I've got terrible wind.
You sure this isn't chemical warfare?
If somebody kills Brian, the list of suspects is going to be enormous.
Some experts believe we can predict the next move of North Korea because they've got a thing about the number 9.
Yes.
Now, what is it?
It's a lucky number. It has a great significance in their culture.
That's right. Now, 9 is regarded as a very lucky number.
Yeah.
The first nuclear test took place October 9, 2006, as my birthday.
Yeah.
Second was on 5th of April, 2009. Yeah. And that's significant, according to the magazine Business Insider, because...
Sorry, what was the first word?
Now, it says here,
Yeah.
5 plus 4 equals 9,
Yeah.
and the 9 of 2009.
Yeah.
Now, the next nuclear test was on 12th of December 2012.
Yeah.
And therefore, 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus... plus 1 plus 2 of 2012 equals 9.
Yeah.
And the North Koreans announced they couldn't protect foreign diplomats after Wednesday of this week, which was...
The 9th.
April the 10th. We're dealing with lunatics. This is the deranged, power-crazed dictator. Hang on a minute. Haven't we done with her? No, sorry. I'm getting it wrong. No. Oh, this is Kim Jong-un and his desire to make his own mark on the world in the shape of a bloody great crater. And here's a recent picture of Kim Jong-un applying for the manager's job at Sunderland. Tensions were further escalated this week when North Korea warned they would restart their nuclear reactor with the chilling words, "OK, boys, start piddling." And so on to round 2,
Yeah.
and a new game that I'm calling Have I Got Noise for You? Along with the picture clue, I'm going to make a noise which should tell you what the story's about. So we start with...
Yes.
Monticello. Lady in Red. Now, what are those?
I think the pandas have started having sex, but I don't think they make that much noise about it. They don't really get very sort of, horny.
No.
It takes a lot to get them going.
Yeah.
Do you know you came top in a poll of the sexiest bearded men?
Did I really?
Yeah, I heard about it
I mean,
somewhere.
you were only running against Osama bin Laden.
This is the news that Yang Guang, Edinburgh's Zoo's male panda, has had his radio switched from classic FM to smooth radio to help get him in the mood to mate. You didn't say that, did you?
No, we didn't, no.
What have gorillas been in the news for this week?
2 children...
Two children.
were standing in front of their enclosure with bananas, and the gorilla went nuts, rightly so, and was banging on the glass and...
Brilliant, brilliant, Bridget, you've got it. A gorilla called Motaba has been indulging in a bit of what is popularly called photo bombing. Here he is. This is the news that Edinburgh Zoo's pandas may be about to mate. According to the Telegraph, if the mating doesn't take place, the zoo will attempt artificial insemination using samples taken from Yang Guang. He's not the president of North Korea, is he?
Not at the moment.
No, I'm getting mixed up.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's a traumatising experience for both the panda and the work experience boy. And here's your next noise clue. Here we go. Catching! Boo!
This is the banker,
Yes, James
Crosby.
Crosby.
Yep.
So anyway, there were 3 bankers who were finally in HBOS, which is Halifax Bank of Scotland, which collapsed spectacularly and had to be bailed out by the taxpayer. And the 3 people in charge have finally, after all these years, been found guilty. And the Parliamentary Standards Committee were incredibly cross with them. And a banker has offered to give his knighthood back.
God, you're a mine of information.
If he was a mine of information, Margaret Thatcher would have closed him down years ago.
Well, this...
But what was interesting about this man,
Yes,
James
yes,
Crosby,
yes.
is, as well as being in charge of HBOS, he was deputy chairman of the Financial Services Authority, which was meant to look into scandals in the city. And amazingly, he didn't see his own.
Why are we saying that that's a great thing for him to do? It doesn't really seem... I mean, a title's very important.
John Lennon returned his gong, didn't he? So it's a good precedent.
Yeah, and I lost my title when I got married. It didn't bother me at all.
What were you?
Miss.
As well as his knighthood, what's Sir James kindly giving back?
Giving back some of his pension.
25% of his pension, so he's got to get by on 400 grand a year. God knows how we'll manage.
It's tough, isn't it, Ken?
It is
You
tough.
tried.
Well, in actual fact... Well, my dogs, he's kind of giving back 30% of his annual pension every year until he dies. Though that still leaves him taking $400,000 a year, or in other words, the piss. I thought that Now, time now for the odd one out round.
It's you.
Just one between you this week. Liz Hurley, Karina Trimmingham, George Osborne and a snow car.
Is it the car made of snow? Because the other three pollute the atmosphere.
Is it actually a car covered in snow or made out of snow?
It's a car made of snow.
Liz Hurley's then partner got done in a small crime in a car park. And
Hugh Grant.
yes, we don't
You've
know.
got to name names.
Yeah,
Don't worry about
yeah.
Leveson. I'll
And
protect you.
We all know either George Osborne has had a illicit affair or the car. Now, if you had to have sex with one of those two, which would you go for? The car.
We think it's the car.
For the reason I gave.
No.
Osborne parked in a disabled bay this week in McDonald's and he got a ticket.
The car that's made out of snow was only a temporary problem because it melted. That's your one.
What was her car offence?
Liz Hurley.
Hugh Grant. There's a connection.
I don't think she was there. That's partly the reason why the offence occurred.
I think...
Yeah, go on, tell us.
Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, here,
Yeah.
I have to say that I am actually losing my mind at the moment.
Yes.
I
think we've got way past that.
They have all received a
Yes.
parking ticket, apart from George Osborne, who didn't because he can park wherever he likes. According to the Mirror he parked his £50,000 taxpayer-funded Land Rover in a space for the disabled, which Osborne clearly isn't, as we can see here. Well, I mean, it's a real shame he wasn't any good, because beforehand he was so excited.
Sorry.
That's the Olympic legacy in one clip.
Karina Trimmingham, Chris Hume's girlfriend, was given a £110 penalty for parking in a permit holder's bay while visiting him at Wandsworth Prison.
I went to Ford once.
You went to what, love?
Ford open prison.
Did you?
Yeah, it's very nice in there.
What were you done for?
No, really, what were you done for? Just laughing it off like that, unless you feel you've paid your debt to society.
I just don't feel we should go back. I've been rehabilitated.
As what?
Is in Leyhill Open Prison
Yeah.
in Gloucestershire, which has been described as the Savoy of slabbers. I usually prefer the Ritz, though not this week. It must have been like that episode of Fawlty Towers in there. Liz Hurley was
Yes.
recently given £240 worth of parking tickets when she left her car on the streets of Mayfair for 4 days after she had forgotten where she had parked it. But apparently it was down to the Sun newspaper, who reported that they managed to trace the car to the street where she left it. God, they're God!
I wonder how they'd done it. I wonder if they used any sort of technology.
Rich people don't behave like you and I. All my money goes on my animals. We don't know about leaving a little car here and a little car there.
What animals
and
do you
forgetting
have?
all about it, yes.
He's
Do you
got
know what I mean?
3,000 animals.
Yes, thousands of animals, yes. And so we just...
What? What are they?
Are you,
Okay, I mean,
are you expecting a flood?
I have to tell you now.
Should we not know?
What do you say? They have all received a parking ticket, apart from George Osborne, who didn't because he can park wherever he likes. George Osborne's car was parked illegally when he went to get a meal in McDonald's. Well, as a chancellor, he's used to opening boxes with unpleasant surprises inside. Osborne stopped at McDonald's just off the M4 as he returned from a speaking engagement at a nursery in Cardiff, where a group of toddlers pointed out the holes in his deficit reduction plan. So the final scores are Bridget and Paul have got 6, and my two friends on the right, the ex-Lord Mayor, Mr. Livingstone, and Ian Hislop, they have got 6. A wonderful draw!
That felt really good, someone referring to me and Ken as my two friends on the right.
On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Ken Livingstone, Paul Merton and Bridget Christie! And I leave you with news that in Alabama, a group of gay rights activists campaign for same-sex marriage. In southwest China, a cormorant salesman is advised by locals to go and get those looked at. And the row over the cost of Lady Thatcher's funeral escalates with the delivery of the hearse. Good night, and don't let the bastards grind you down!
They're taking to the piste next on BBC One with a skiing trip for the gang not going out. Later, Graham Norton's here with Michael Bublé, Amanda Holden and Jack D at 10:35.
Also, a little thing is, which won't be shown, you can see my hands.
Yes.
But we used to play marbles, and we had ball bearings, and we had glass arrows, and we had glass marbles in the war years. And I was a good marble player. A poor marble player did that. But a good marble player could turn it, which was rather handsome, put the marble just there on the thumb and finger, and shoot. And you had immense accuracy.
Have you lost any of those marbles since then?